Hi everyone, this is Dr. Chhoda and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. Today is a very, very important day, like I mentioned in my other video, because today is the day that the Electoral College is voting. I'm actually following the votes of the Electoral College in real time, and I'll be sure to announce it to you once the Electoral College process is complete. I mean, it is projected that President-elect Biden will win 306 Electoral College votes, which ironically is the same that President Trump won 4 years ago, and President Trump called it a landslide at that time. So this is an interesting fact. But in this video, I'm going to give our viewers and subscribers some important new details about what the bipartisan Senate leaders are up to. Remember, they had an original package of $908 billion, which unfortunately was not something that the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was interested in. So in a pretty interesting adjustment, the bipartisan Senate leaders have now split that into two bills. One bill which includes unemployment benefits, $300 a week for 4 months, and the other bill which includes the more contentious aspects of state and local aid and the more contentious aspects of the liability shield. By the way, the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was specifically asked by CNN's Manu Raju about whether the Democrats were likely to budge on state and local aid, and you can see this tweet on your screen. It's clear that the Democrats are not budging on state and local aid. So this new adjustment, if you will, this new shift in direction actually shows, number one, how hard the bipartisan Senate group is working. Now, keep in mind, this still does not include stimulus checks. We have the holdouts. We have Josh Hawley. We have Bernie Sanders, who are the holdouts. This still does not include stimulus checks, but it shows you how hard they're working, how hard they're trying to adjust in order to be able to make this happen, and also the limitations of their capabilities, because at the end of the day, they still haven't been able to crack the tough nut of state and local funding and of liability protection. Remember, state and local funding is a huge priority for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and the liability protection is a huge priority for Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. So, that's where things stand. According to brand new reporting from the Washington Post, and you'll see this article on your screen from the Washington Post, one of the things that stood out to me from the Washington Post article was that lawmakers worked throughout the weekend in order to be able to hammer out a deal. And it seems like the effort is still not finalized, but there is a lot of optimism that a compromise deal could be reached as early as tomorrow. We could see an omnibus spending package, a $1.4 trillion package, as early as tomorrow, along with an agreement on a stimulus package, which now has been split into two parts. So things could click in the next 24 hours. But again, based on where we are right now, there are no stimulus checks. This has unemployment benefits, but no stimulus checks, unless Bernie Sanders and Josh Hawley somehow essentially bring this to a vote on the floor of the Senate and get enough senators to support them, because we know that the Democrats support this already. But the question is, will there be enough Republican senators to support a higher price tag? Because we're going to need an extra $250, $300 billion for stimulus checks. Here's a quote on your screen from Bill Hoagland. Bill is Senior Vice President of the Bipartisan Policy Center and former Republican staff director of the Senate Budget Committee. And he said, and I quote, "I really am optimistic this morning, very optimistic." And he said, "Nobody wants to be the Grinch that stole Christmas this year. They'll get it done this week. I feel very confident in that for a change." So what is the first piece of legislation expected to include? Remember, this is going to be split into two parts. The first one, the big one, the $700+ billion part of the $908 billion package, is expected to include $300 per week for unemployed Americans, as well as $5 billion in opioid funding and $6.5 billion in funding for the distribution of the vaccine. By the way, the vaccine distribution has already begun. And the bill will also have an extension of the eviction moratorium, but only for 1 month. It'll extend the eviction moratorium until the 31st of January, at which point lawmakers hope that the $25 billion in rental assistance would alleviate pressure on renters. So Republicans resisted a longer extension of the eviction moratorium, according to the Washington Post. Quite astonishing that we would not extend the eviction moratorium longer, but that is what is expected to be in the structure of the bill, and more details will be announced today at 4 p.m. I don't expect any big announcements in the press conference at 4 p.m. other than what I've already reported to you. But if there are, I'll be sure to report that back to you. I do expect the usual talking points, but we'll see. We may be in for a surprise, and we may get some good news, and we may get some news that suggests that House Speaker Pelosi is on board, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is on board, and at that point, I would be very shocked if the president decides not to sign anything that the two of them agree to, because the holdout has been either House Speaker Pelosi or Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. President Trump has shown flexibility in his position, if you will, to accept what could essentially be agreed upon by both chambers of Congress. Now, here's a quote from Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont, and I'm going to quote him. It astounds me how just a few months ago in May, the Democratic House passed the HEROES bill. $3.4 trillion. That's what Bernie Sanders said. And he said it is now possible one of the proposals being discussed by Manchin and Romney will have $188 billion in new money. How do you go from $3.4 trillion to $188 billion? What kind of negotiating is that? This is a comment from Bernie Sanders. Now, keep in mind, there have been some lawmakers who suggested dropping state and local aid and liability protection and including stimulus checks instead. So that if that was done, that would allow both unemployment benefits and stimulus checks to be part of a $900 billion proposal. But it remains to be seen whether House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is going to budge. And based on what we've seen so far, that looks unlikely. It remains to be seen whether the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will budge. He has said that he's willing to work on other things and leave liability protection aside for a moment, for the time being. So, you never know. Also, here's something interesting. The House Majority Leader, Steny Hoyer, who's a Democrat, he's the second highest ranking Democrat in the House after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, suggested in the past 24 hours that Democrats may be willing to support a deal to leave out state and local funding. By the way, this is not consistent with what House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said earlier today to CNN's Manu Raju. That was actually reported by Jake Sherman. You'll see that tweet on your screen. But guys, this is politics. Remember that chessboard I showed you earlier? Let's show you the chessboard again. These politicians, for them, it's a game of chess. House Speaker Pelosi keeps moving around. The Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell keeps moving around. The president also keeps moving around. I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden we see things click and they come to an agreement just because it's a political necessity. Because how bad is it going to be? How bad is it going to seem to their constituents if these lawmakers go back home for Christmas having extended the funding of the government but not having passed stimulus relief? So that's one reason. The other is I'm seeing signs of flexibility from the Democrats, specifically Steny Hoyer, saying, hey, we'll do something without state and local funding for the time being. And the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell saying, hey, let's not do liability shield, let's do something else. Now, I think the plane is gradually starting to land, and I'm starting to see more signs of flexibility. If you remember, earlier in the summer, we were talking about $3.2 trillion versus $500 billion. Now we seem to have zeroed in on the $900 billion range, and now the final haggling is something that I believe will get worked out and should get worked out. Here's a quote from Steny Hoyer. He said this on CNN. Although I think state and local assistance is critically important, the others are critically important too. We have millions of people who are at high risk, extraordinarily health exposure, psychological exposure. He's right. We need to act. If we can get state and local aid, we want to get it. But we want to get aid out to people who are really, really struggling and are at great risk. And I tend to agree with that. I think it's time to help people who need it the most, because while these lawmakers haggle about state and local aid and liability protection, for us it's about putting food on the table. It's about keeping the lights on. We need quick cash now, and I completely understand it, and I'm hoping that both stimulus checks and unemployment benefits can get included. I'll be sure to report it to you as soon as it happens. And finally, in brand new reporting from Politico, you'll see this article on your screen from Politico. Bernie Sanders is actually urging Democrats to reject the bipartisan bill, the new two-part bill, because it doesn't include stimulus checks. I mentioned Bernie Sanders' comments earlier in the video, but basically he said, what kind of negotiation is it when you go from $3.4 trillion to $188 billion in new money? So he is not a fan at all of this new two-part plan, but it remains to be seen whether he can muster up a majority of Democrats to stand behind him. Here again is a quote from Bernie Sanders. Democrats passed a $3.4 trillion bill. You have the Republicans in the administration talking about $1.8 trillion. By the way, he was talking about the U.S. Trade Secretary Stephen Mnuchin's offer to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi in the world before the election. That was a different world. Guess what? What happened last week was a different world. That's the world that we live in. And I'm pretty sure that Bernie Sanders recognizes that, but I'm not sure why he's referring to an alternate reality. Everything prior to the election is an alternate reality, a different galaxy, a completely different day and age, completely different realm, completely different. It's an alternative universe. But so Bernie Sanders says, and now you're down to about $188 billion in new money in this new bipartisan bill. By the way, the two-part bill does still appropriate $560 billion from the CARES Act. In other words, reappropriate unspent money. He said it does not include one nickel in direct payments for working families in this country. Totally unacceptable, and this has got to be rejected. The problem is the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and many Senate Republicans are not going to care about what Bernie Sanders is saying because they're not going to support it. That is the harsh reality of this situation. Unless we see something change. Look, anything's possible, but I believe Bernie Sanders is in the minority here. I just want to prepare our viewers about him being the lone holdout. Yes, we have Josh Hawley, Republican from Missouri, supporting his same notion, but I do believe they are the lone warriors in this situation. Now, Bernie Sanders was asked about how hard he would push, and like a typical politician, he said, and I quote, "Congress cannot go home for the holidays unless we have a $1,200 direct payment to working class adults and $500 in payments for their kids. Congress is not going to go home until we do that. That's what the American people want." That's where things stand, everybody. You'll find the links to all of our resources in the description section below. And also, please comment below and let me know what you think of this end game, if you will, of this phase of the stimulus negotiations as we head into the end of this year 2020. I mean, trust me, this is a year that we all want to put behind us. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. That's it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. That's 2 p.m. So please make sure you click like, you subscribe, you enable notifications so you get instant updates about our videos. You'll also get notified whenever we do any live streams. So make sure you please click like, please click subscribe, please enable notifications. That's your vote of confidence in us, and that really helps out the YouTube algorithm. I would really appreciate that. Just gently tap that like button. Don't ignite it, and don't smash your screen. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that because, I want you to be able to watch our videos. But the name of our channel is Ignition Time. Now, keep in mind, you can get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000, that's 70000, and you'll get added to our SMS alerts list moving forward. You can opt out of the SMSs at any point in time that you want. Now, keep in mind, you can also get added to our email list. Simply go ahead and go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts. You can get added to our email list. When you're on our SMS list or our email list, there are two major advantages. One, you'll get breaking news and alerts from us about matters that are important to the country, matters that are important to the economy, and matters that are important to your money. So make sure you get added to our list. Also, you will get important information if we ever release any training programs on how to make money, save money, and invest money. And you can opt out of those SMS alerts or those email alerts at any point in time that you want. No worries about that. Keep in mind that YouTube does not always send out notifications on time. So make sure you simply bookmark youtube.com/ignition time, and then you can visit the home page of our channel and check out our videos at any point in time that you want. You're not dependent on alerts from YouTube because sometimes they get delayed. You can also follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. You'll get exclusive news and content on Instagram. Also follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is the exact same handle, ignition_time. On Twitter, you'll get breaking news and alerts from us on Twitter. So make sure you do that. I really appreciate you watching. Don't forget to comment below. Our community is growing rapidly. It's intelligent, it's respectful, it's bipartisan. You'll probably make some new friends in our community. So make sure you comment below. Also, please share this video with friends and family, because then hopefully we can grow our community with your help. I do need your help to grow our community. Thank you so much for watching. As always, you'll find a link to all of our resources in the description section below. So make sure you check out all of our resources. I really appreciate you watching. Again, don't forget to click like, click subscribe, please enable notifications. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.